Yo, yo, yo. What's going on? What it do? Uh, so, what's going on, fellas? I see you, Alan. See you, Six. What's going on, man? How's the audio? How it sound, man? All right. I like it. And you know what, man? I'm not even about to play with this sun. I'm about to go ahead and move, man. Not even about to play with this sun today. I ain't got time for it to be shutting me down like that. Hey, baby. I was just saying I'm not even playing with the sun today. We ain't got time for no shutdowns or nothing like that. Go ahead and move. Yeah, caught me a nice little spot in the shade. Crack a window. All right. So yeah, if y'all could go ahead and drop a little comment when y'all get in, man. That way I know who all is in there. Harrison, what's going on, man? How's the how you liking the new post surgery voice? Is it everything you thought it'd be? But yeah, man. If y'all don't know, I had surgery about 2 weeks ago. Had my tonsils taken out, man. If you got kids, I'm not saying just have surgery to have it, but if taking their tonsils out is something that you've ever considered or thought about, do it when they're a kid. For real, man. Justin in the building. What's going on, man? Yeah, man. I usually give people about uh usually give people about 5 minutes to get in. And sorry if it's a little shaky today. I'm having to kind of hold it with my hand and prop it up. I guess not doing the stream for 2 weeks. I can't find my mount. So yeah, man. So today, if you didn't see, we doing I'm be talking about next gen. I know the next gen stuff's been out for a little while, but it's my first time getting to talk about it because, like I said, about 2 weeks ago I had surgery, so hadn't really been able to talk. And man, to be honest, I'm still not. I had 2 weeks of recovery time, and I'm still not 100%, man. Like getting your tonsils taken out sound like a child's thing, like some kids get done, like it ain't that big a deal. Man, it ain't no joke. And the surgeon, they make absolutely sure, like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you positive this is what you want to do? Because as an adult, they're like, it takes you down, man. Justice says practicing to get my Barry White voice like you. Yeah, man. Well, you have to go ahead and incorporate some whiskey into your diet on a regular. Yeah, man. But I'm excited. Does anybody in here have a next gen console? I think I think Six might have one. I know Alan. They had them on rotation for a minute. I know he had a couple of everything. All right, so we're at the 5 minute mark. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into it, man. Um, next gen is here, and to be honest, if you have the display for it, this is probably the biggest leap in console performance. I know that's a lot to say, considering PS4 and Xbox, especially like the PS4 Pro and Xbox Series X, they raised the resolution of stuff, made games play a little bit better. But when you look at what you were actually getting, like the actual performance of what you were getting, um, it wasn't hitting those targets a lot of the time, right? But this generation, where you have games playing at really once you hit 60 frames, it makes everything different, right? It's a totally different, like a jump from 30 to 60 is significant, right? It is significant. And the fact that you can basically run every game at 60 frames now, even if you have to choose between like a performance mode or a resolution mode, um, the resolution is high enough, right? If I take 1440p or I take 1800p and I upscale that to 4K, it looks good enough. Once you throw 60 on it, it looks it looks impressive, right? I'm thinking about even like just going back through PS4 games that look amazing on PS4. A prime example, Ghost of Tsushima. That game, it wasn't even running at 4K on the PS4 Pro. It was one of the best looking games of last gen, regardless of the power difference in the Xbox One X. Regardless of anything else, Ghost of Tsushima was visually jaw dropping, and now it is running at 60 frames. I don't know if it's quite 4K. I think it might be doing like a 1800p ish upscaling. I don't know if they actually tick the 4K box, but just taking that game as is and bumping it up to 60 frames, it looks amazing now. And it's hard to say that knowing that it looked amazing before, but it does. Uh, got some people popping in the chat. RP3, what's going on, man? Sean in the building. What's going on with y'all? RP3 says not yet. Don't like buying the first batch. I can respect that. Sean says, "What up, Eric?" Sean says, "Consoles are getting better. 120 hertz is crazy." Yeah, man. And I was just speaking about an experience that everybody can have, regardless of what display you got. Whatever TV you got, you can play at 60 hertz. That alone, taking even just taking last gen games and bumping them up to 60 is impressive. And then once you throw 4K and HDR on top of that, I mean, it's like visually the games are amazing and they're amazing to play now. Like I can't go back to 30 frames. Like there are some games that give you the option to like as far as next gen stuff like Demon Souls gives you the option to increase the resolution and the visual fidelity while bumping down to 30 frames. So it doesn't do ray tracing, but it just like maxes out the visuals. I will never choose that option. I will never max out the visuals because the difference is so small. And at the end of the day, you're playing a game, right? Especially Demon Souls, you need like the reaction time to be quick. You want the animation to be smooth. You're doing a lot of moving around, a lot of fighting and stuff like that. Give me 60 frames, and at the decreased visual fidelity, it still looks amazing. Especially if you have good HDR. You have a good HDR set. Like I have the C10, the LG C10, which as of right now is hands down, no contest, the best display, the best TV for a gamer. Like if you are a gamer and you're looking for a TV, the only reason you wouldn't get a C10 is if you couldn't afford it. And the prices are have dropped. Like they've taken a drop, like a significant drop, like a not oh it's on sale drop. It's taking a like we're about to like the next price drop for the C10s, in my opinion, is going to be when they get rid of them. Right? I don't think they'll drop any lower than they are right now. Like 65 inches normally like 2,500. You saw like a couple of sales before, like back in September-ish, and they would drop to like 22, 23, and then there was just like this hard drop to 1800, and it's like, well, that's where it's gonna like, but like the next stop is gonna be out the door. Like they'll bring in the I think the next is gonna be the C1. That'll be what you see next, right? I think they'll just discontinue the C10 at that 1800 price before they drop it any lower, because at the end of the day, it's still a flagship panel, like still the best OLED panel you can get. And as far as feature set, you get HDMI 2.1 on all four ports. It supports FreeSync and what's the G-Sync and FreeSync. And it supports FreeSync Premium as well. HDR is great, contrast is great, all that stuff. You plug up, like this is my experience with the PS5. You plug it up, and it just maxes out everything. It does everything the console can do, which different like HDMI 2.1 is only one piece of the puzzle. With that TV, you plug in a next gen console, and it just lights. It checks all the boxes. Like the display, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to figure out, am I plugging to the right port? Which port is HDMI 2.1? Can I do the 120 at the 4K? Like if I do, what's the visual setting? Like it just maxes out everything. Like whatever the console supports, it can handle it. It's a no brainer. RP3 says, do you think the lack of PS5s are legit or they are creating hype? No, it's legit. The reason why it's legit is because people have nothing else to do, right? This is a once in a decade event. So you have more people than ever that are looking to buy consoles. And so with that being the case, you also have to look at the last time that consoles were that we got new consoles, not the 4 Pro and the One X. The last time we got new consoles, those people got jobs now. Those people got money. So you have even so every year the number of people that are able to buy consoles just goes up. You combine that with the pandemic, and 2020 being the type of year it is, everybody being locked down. Like people been looking forward to this, and then also there's just been nothing else going on. It's like you look at the news, it's like Trump stuff, coronavirus stuff, and then like the ray of light has been like the next gen consoles. So even leading up to the console release, people have been reporting on everything, like anything console related. Oh, somebody smelled the PS5. It smells like it's not going to be as fast as the Series X or what, like anything like ridiculous stuff. People have been like just reporting any type of information they could get on these consoles. So the hype already is already at a peak, but there's a legitimate restraint on manufacturing volume, right? They can't manufacture at the volume that they would if Corona didn't exist, right? And then on top of that, you have like a certain portion of the PS5. Like the PS5 is using liquid metal to cool the CPU. That's a more intensive, more intricate manufacturing process than just having a CPU with a fan or a heat sink or a cooling pipe or something like that attached to it. So there's um, a little bit more complexity to manufacturing the PS5. But I don't think it's just hype. I think that people just literally bought up everything you can get. Uno Nice in the building. What's going on? Six says scalpers have more stock than the actual retailers. Yeah, man, the scalpers, man. I really hate to see that. I hate to see it, man, because they're souring something that people should be able to just experience, right? I don't know, man. I've seen people selling them for like thousand, $1,200. Like there has to be some way we can get around that, man. Like I don't know what techniques they're using to buy up all these consoles. I wouldn't put it past people to have like several different computers with VPN set up and all of them, firing off trying to hit all these websites, people running scripts, trying to go through and reserve stuff in carts and buy stuff. I hate that, but man, this year is worse than ever, man. Especially because you can only buy PS5s online, right? As far as like actually going into the store and physically picking them up, Sony in an attempt to kind of just reduce traffic in stores and reduce the risk of spreading coronavirus. They've been basically trying to get retailers just to sell online to try to cut back on people at the stores and lining up and camping out and all that stuff. Udo Nice says order Xbox Series X. Unfortunately, won't be shipped until mid late December, but it's locked in and confirmed to arrive before Christmas, so it's all good. Yeah, man. I hope it gets there on time. Hope you don't have any crazy shipping issues for sure, man. Derek in the building. He says, yeah, 2000. I know a guy who got six. Man, that's crazy, man. Yeah, silly as hell. Yeah, it is, man. Carter says they're using bots like sneakerheads use to buy shoes. Yeah, yeah. It's sad, man. I think that in the future, especially going forward, they're gonna have to. I don't know how they could do it, but somebody's got to put some time and energy into trying to mitigate this stuff. Sony somewhat tried to help out a little bit because initially I was able to pre-order one through Amazon, and literally like I pre-ordered it on like as soon as the pre-orders went live, I was able to get on Amazon and get one pre-order, and the next day they told me you're not getting it on launch day. Like already they knew like your shipment is gonna be late, and that's what me putting in a pre-order the day of, and the next day I got an invite from Sony to come and pre-order one, and their process was buttery smooth, man. There was no going to the site, no hitting the refresh button. Basically, you just got digital tickets. They gave you a time frame to log in. You hit the site, they put you in a queue, and when it's your turn, you go in, pick what you want, put in your cart. I think that in order to prevent like the bot thing from happening, like there needs to be some sort of confirmation. Like you're gonna do a pre-order, okay, we need your email address. We need to confirm that you are a person, and here is your time slot to go in, purchase your stuff. Make sure that basically make it to where you can't get a pre-order through like a fully automated process. Where I can't run a script that just goes to a site, looks up this product, hits add to cart on that page, goes to checkout. Like they need to do something about that. Ricardo says I've accepted I won't get a PS5 until mid-January. To be honest, man, I don't know if they'll be caught up by then. I mean, I think that the hype, especially because the hype isn't going down, right? The hype is going up. Like the launch hit, and I honestly had people hitting me up like, "Hey man, where'd you buy your PS5 from? I think I might want to go get one." And I'm like, "You think you might want to go get one? Like, ain't none. Like, ain't no. You can't go to the store and walk in and be like, hmm, yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up. Go ahead and box it up. Like, nah, like you have to be actively like in this time frame we're in right now, unless you're gonna dedicate time to sit in front of the computer, be on Twitter, keeping track of which stores are gonna have sale windows. Like you aren't gonna casually pick one up. And I think that as that reality sets in, more and more people are either kind of decide like, well, I'm just not gonna worry about it right now, it's too crazy, or people just kind of like modifying how they buy stuff. They're like I said, Twitter is probably the best place to look and get updated time frames as far as when you can buy one. But um, yeah, I don't know. I think it'll probably be February or March before it gets to a point where you want one that you can go to a site and order one within a reasonable amount of time. Yeah, that's just my guess because there are people that have pre-orders that still haven't gotten them. I don't know about pre-orders, but there are people that have actually been able to buy them online already. They're not going to get them until end of December, and it's November, and they've already paid for it. So for you to be able to buy a new one with a reasonable level of effort, I think you'd be looking probably at February, March before that happens. Carter says, "Don't give me the bad news." Yeah, but I'm just letting you know, man. Like I think that casual buying process, you ain't gonna be able to do that for a while. It's gonna be a little second before you can do that. Um, but that's probably a good thing though. Just because, like I say, right now the confusion is around the televisions, right? Because more than likely you don't have a TV that can give you all the features of the console right now. And so if you're somebody who's wanting to max out the capability of your console, you're gonna need another TV. And time, like basically having to wait, is the best thing for you when it comes to buying a TV. Because right now, especially with Black Friday, a lot of people are tempted to go out and buy a TV, and really there are only, I can't even say a handful of TVs. There are probably two TVs that would be worth buying right now. Simply because what's going to happen is you can either buy a relatively expensive. To be honest, it's not even really that expensive. It's just what a flagship TV costs, right? So if you want a TV that has, that's relatively future proofed, that has basically all the technology that you would need to give you the best picture quality, and specifically gaming, to give you all the gaming features you would need to be able to take advantage of your system, you're looking at spending almost 2 grand. That's right now. The reason being, though, is that LG is the only company that's actually been invested in adding gaming features into the television. And so now it's just a matter of other manufacturers doing that. Like with these next gen consoles coming out, some other manufacturers have kind of like sprinkled some stuff in. Like you could buy some Samsung TVs that have like one HDMI 2.1 port. But as far as all the actual display tech that you would find in a monitor, like you know, low input latency, VRR, VSync, FreeSync, black frame insertion, all that stuff that preserves picture quality at a higher refresh rate, like at 120 or something like that. Like they aren't going to have all that tech, so you'll end up with a poor experience, even at that higher frame rate or whatever. So the other thing with waiting is the next batch of TVs that comes out in 2021. That's kind of going to be par for the course, right? So buying a TV that has four HDMI 2.1 ports isn't going to be a $2,000 affair. Like you might be able to spend 8 900, get you a 65-inch 4K set that has that tech in it, and maybe the picture quality isn't the absolute best it can be, right? But as far as just like playing games, I mean, it'll be fine. You'll be able to do everything you want to do. What up, cuz? Jamal Coleman in the build. What's going on, man? He says that's why I'm looking into getting a gaming monitor right now. Yeah. So the thing with a gaming monitor is it's got to have HDMI 2.1, and monitors haven't really cared about 2.1 because if you were a gamer and you had a PC or whatever, you using DisplayPort, right? They had HDMI ports on them because as of right now, the only graphics cards that support HDMI 2.1 out is the 30 series graphics card. So unless you're gonna buy a 3060, 37, I mean a 3070, 3080, 3090, um, your graphics card don't support 2.1 out anyway. So when it comes to plugging a console up to a gaming monitor, the monitors more than likely not gonna have 2.1, which means you're gonna be stuck at either, if you got a PS5, you'd be stuck at 1440p at, I mean not 1440, you'd be stuck at 1080p at 120 hertz. Or on the Xbox, you'd be stuck at 1440p at 120 hertz. Mm, excuse me. But yeah, man, it's a lot to it's a lot to figure out. A lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts, and it really depends on what's important to you. Because, like I said, the fact of the matter, like gaming at 120 hertz, that's kind of like an edge case. Even though, like on COD, Cold War, I can't play Call of Duty at 30 frames no more. I mean, at 60 frames no more. Like I need that 120. I need that wide frame. I mean that wide FOV. Basically the same experience that people on PC have been getting, but it's even better because I'm getting the PC experience on a 65-inch display. Which even if you have a beast PC, you have not been able to do because HDMI 2.0 don't support 4K 120, right? So even the on the PC side, you still can't get the same experience that we're getting on like the PS5 and the Series X, where you're playing at 4K 120 at 65 inches. It's awesome. But yeah, so I don't know if you could tell, but I'm a PlayStation guy. Series X is kind of, you know, it is what it is. I'm not like a historical game player. Like I want to see what's new. I want to see the latest and the greatest. So being able to play a library of old games really doesn't entice me that much. If it does, the Series X, if you are an Xbox fan or a fan of a lot of Xbox games, that's definitely the way to go because they have invested a lot of time and money into just allowing you to be able to play even all the way back to OG Xbox games, right? But for me, I don't have an interest in that. And with me being interested in the latest and the greatest, the PS5 is the place to be. At this point, until the medium comes out on Xbox Series X, there is not a game on Series X that is next gen only that actually demonstrates what next gen looks like on the Series X. Like it just doesn't exist yet. So I'm looking forward to the medium coming out. Hearing the reviews about that, it looks like a cool game. Um, there are a couple of others coming out, but yeah, if you're heavily invested in, you have a display that's capable of showing you all the next gen features like high frame rate, um, has great HDR. That's the PlayStation is the place to be, man. We haven't even gotten into the DualSense controller yet, man. The DualSense. So I'm gonna be honest with you. As of right now, there's only one next gen console, and it's the PlayStation. I'm gonna be frank with you. If you have, if I hid the box, right? I didn't show you what console you were plugged up to. I put a controller in your hand. You would be hard pressed to tell if you were playing the Xbox Series X or One X. It's got the exact same UI. Like once you got into the settings, you saw some 120 hertz stuff. Maybe then you would know. But as of right now, there is. I mean, the boot times are faster, load times are faster. But as far as like that's just a result of new hardware. But there's not any new technology. There's nothing new visually or physically that really separates last gen from next gen on the Xbox side. This PS5, this DualSense controller is on a whole another level, man. It's a whole another level. Like the Astrobot game that comes for free is a great platformer. Like runs 4K 60 ray tracing, looks beautiful, man. I platinumed it. A lot of dudes I know that are like hardcore gamers, they're playing Astrobot and getting platinums in it just because it's for me it was like a respect thing. It's like I just had to put the respect on the game because Sony included this game and it's not just a throwaway. It's not just a cheesy gimmick. Like it's an actual cool game with a lot of thought, a lot of attention to detail. If you are a PlayStation person, there's so much for you to appreciate in it because it goes through the entire PlayStation history of games, all the products they've ever released. It just kind of highlights everything, which I think is dope. It looks amazing. A lot of the little Easter eggs that you get are real cool, but also it just demonstrates everything that's possible with the DualSense. And when I first started playing it, I'm like, this is cool, but my expectations, like some other features, is my expectations were this is cool and they're doing this in Astro, but what are third party developers going to do with it? Right? We know first party, they'll do some stuff with it, but what are third party going to do? And out the box, Cold War went ahead and built in trigger profiles and ADS profiles for every single gun, and not just every gun, but even different attachments have different sensations. The trigger pull is different on the gun that's suppressed versus when it's not suppressed. The trigger pull on a gun that's, you know, on a pistol versus a semi-automatic, you know, rifle or some fully automatic. Like it's it's amazing, man. That's all I can say. It's amazing. The dual sense is really a next generation. thing. It's something that actually immerses you in a game in a way that you have not been immersed before, and it's meaningful, right? So I haven't shot a lot of guns, but you actually have, like, with the trigger, you can actually rest your finger on the trigger, and as you squeeze it, it gets to a point where, like, the tension builds up, and then it like you feel that when you squeeze, you like press past that point and you shoot. And when you are shooting a pistol, or maybe you got a rifle and you're shooting, or you're trying to get like a headshot and you just like want to tap it, like the sensation throughout the whole controller combined with the haptics and all of that stuff, it's immersive, man. If you're a hardcore like competitive person, you probably want to turn it off because it's adding a lot of feedback into your gameplay that probably will slow you down, especially like on reaction stuff. You're trying to go for accuracy every time and all that. It definitely slows that down because it's making it more realistic. But if you like the experience, like I do, it's something I leave on, and I appreciate it every time I get to use it, man. Like Sony's done something with that dual sense, for real, for real. It is not a gimmick at all, man. So let's see. Six says, Alan wants to know what's your next platinum. Um, I think for me, my next platinum is probably going to be Ghost of Tsushima. Um, I think that game deserves to be platinum. I don't platinum many games, but as far as ones that I just have to put respect on, that's probably going to be the next one, man. Ricardo says, so how will PlayStation respond to Xbox Game Pass? Um, I mean, I think the Xbox is, I mean, I think that PlayStation is going to offer a service. They already kind of have like um, a little sample of what they're going to do. If you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, you get access to the PS collection, which I think it's either 8 or 10 games. It's like God of War, um, The Last of Us remastered. Um, it's like several other games, but they're like mostly PlayStation exclusives that are some of the best games of last generation. You get those not for free, but as a part of your PS Plus subscription. So day one, you load up your PS5, you activate your PS Plus subscription, and you get access to those 8 games. And God of War in itself is like that's one of the most amazing games from last gen. And then when you throw on top of that, that all those games are going to play even better on the PS5. Right now they're going to be 60 frames. Now some of them are going to be playing at 4K. I mean that's a strong offering. Whereas, kind of got to be honest, man, Xbox Game Pass, it's a lot of games. It's a good value for what you're getting. But if I say which service is going to get which which platform is going to allow you to play the best games that are available, like the absolute best games out, it's not Xbox Game Pass because they don't exist on Xbox. They're PlayStation exclusives. So at that point, it's like unless you got some games that you just really like to play or you're looking for a good deal, it's whatever Sony does is going to be better in my opinion. That's just me though, man. Jamal says definitely got a point there. I think he was talking about the thoughts you got to have about getting a gaming monitor if you're gonna use one for your next gen console. Because I didn't have a gaming monitor, but I had a monitor that I played my PS4 Pro on, um, and that was something that immediately made it kind of no longer an option. It's like, am I gonna spend the money that I have to spend to get a monitor that's HDMI 2.1 compliant? And then when you look at the price compared to getting an OLED TV, I mean, OLED is going to be a better display all day because your gaming monitor is probably going to be a VA panel. Unless you're really spending some money, then you could get QLED or IPS or something like that. But it's still not going to be OLED. And so, I mean, once you start getting that far up in price, it's like I'm looking at just getting another TV. Six says that's the thing. Jim Ryan said they have a response to Game Pass, and we're all curious. Yeah, man, it's definitely coming. Sony has definitely been kind of taking their time with coming up with any other platforms because they like out the box with the PS4 they had a bunch of stuff. They had like PlayStation View and PlayStation Now, and they had their movie and TV service and all of that stuff. Most of that stuff's kind of just kind of fizzled out because I think that for them the exclusive games has been kind of like the lifeline of PlayStation right now. Like if you want to buy a console and have reasonable assurance that you will be able to play the absolute best games that are going to come to a console, then you have to buy a PlayStation. Xbox has no, they have not demonstrated that's something that they are, super focused on or have the ability to do, right? Because I think about a lot of studios that they bought in the past. They had, of course, you got your Halo, you got your Gears, but I mean, is that really? Are you fine with another with a? Are you okay with another console generation where the best games that come out on Xbox are Forza, Gears, and Halo? Like that needs to be a part of the mix, right? But there's like you mean to tell me that there's gonna be nothing new that comes out that is amazing, like no new IPs that are amazing like that? You know, like Xbox hasn't proven that they can do that yet. See, that guy Ricardo says sounds like Battlefield 6 will pair great with the new controller. Any FPS as of right now, they're gonna have to get on them controllers, man. They got to get on that dual sense and put in that work because it adds so much to the game. Like it sounds like a gimmick. Every reviewer I saw before the console dropped, they would talk about stuff and they would start talking about like, man, it's Astro, man. You got to play it just because it's it's give you you never thought about this before. Like to be honest, like we've always had Rumble. Rumble like but Rumble has like once you play with this controller with haptic feedback versus just the Rumble, because Rumble is basically like vibrate hard or vibrate soft, right? Take that how you will. You got it's very limited in the type of feedback it can give you. But the haptic controller, like the haptics in the controller, like it can send a wave of vibration across the entire controller, like literally like a wave, like not like vibrate the left side, vibrate the right. Like they can make any part of the controller. They can give you a sensation of vibration, and not even just vibration, like fine little taps. Like they can give you a vibration of you. Like there's one part in Astro where you're skating across ice, and it feels like there's a little person skating across the top of the controller. Like the precision they can provide you feedback with is, is ridiculous, to be honest. And then you get in Cold War, and at first, because it's such a new sensation, like it just feels different. It's like it feels like there's a lot going on. It's like, well, when I try to aim down sights, I got a pistol, and when I squeeze the left trigger, it feels almost normal. Like there's some resistance, but it's not just like a regular trigger pull. But then I got an LMG. Now there's a lot more tension on that left trigger when I pull it in, and now when I pull the right trigger, it feels different than the pistol. Like the pistol had some tension, and then I felt the snap every time I shot because it's semi-automatic. But now I got an LMG, it's fully automatic. There's a lot of tension on that first pull, but then once I let in, like I can feel the trigger kicking back every time a bullet comes out. Like it's next gen, man. Like it's not a gimmick. I'm so for real right now. It's not a gimmick, man. Let's see. Crowder says they bought Bethesda. That's huge. Yeah, man. But anybody who's familiar with business, you know how business goes. Microsoft is a business. They're not acquiring people and going to them and be like, "Hey, we're not going to change anything about what you do. Just do you. All right. You got an unlimited budget. We aren't worried about all this money we spent on you. Whatever you were working on, keep working on it exactly that same way. We aren't making any change." No, Microsoft about to go in there. They're about to wreck shop, man. They're gonna start cutting the fat because they're gonna need to start making some money, right? And so with that comes leadership changes. Leadership changes always brings turnover, right? Because if you're a developer at Bethesda, you aren't at Bethesda because that's the only job you can get. You're at Bethesda because that's where you choose to be. When you leave Bethesda with Bethesda on your resume, you're working wherever you want to work. If you don't just start up some other little, studio or go somewhere else to help out. Like so, that's going to be the hard part of establishing whatever Microsoft's new regime at Bethesda is going to be, and still trying to produce. Because the other side of that is money doesn't equal a great game. Like we saw that a lot last gen, like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, amazing game, came from like a mid tier studio. It wasn't an indie developer, but it was like a mid tier studio. You got a lot of great games that are coming out of companies like that, and so Microsoft buying all these studios doesn't guarantee that they'll be the same after that acquisition. Like I think about Rare, what they were producing before Microsoft bought them, and then after they kind of it's kind of been pretty silent. Like it hadn't been like hit after hit. Even with Halo, when they bought I can't think of the name of the studio, but they bought them and then they ended up selling them off again or something like that. But yeah, like buying studios that like there's still a lot of work and luck and things that are out of their control when it comes to producing a great game, right? So I don't know. We'll have to see. Right now, to me, they're unproven. What up, Big Migs? V Motors for the win. Yeah, man. Had to pull the V Motors out today. But third party games play better on the Xbox. Not on the Series X compared to PS5. Valhalla runs at a higher frame rate on the PS5, and there's some aspects of Cold War that run better on the PS5 as well. And that was always my thing because Microsoft has been always touting this, most powerful this, most powerful that, but they don't really put any effort into like the other parts of gameplay because that's like because all they refer to are teraflops, which is raw graphical processing power. But there's a lot of optimization that has to go into that, and you don't get that optimization unless somebody is developing a first party game for your system. So as far as being able to see the fruits of that difference in power, without them without them producing console exclusives, you won't see that benefit, right? The best you'll get is going to be the same as what you see on PS5 because like there might be some imperceptible technical advantage that comes out of that. Like maybe there's a certain scene in a game where you see some frame dips on the PS5 and the dips aren't as bad on the Series X. But you're not going to come across something where there's a game that runs in 4K on the Series X and it runs in 1440p on the PS5. Like that's not going to happen just because they're not the architectures aren't that different. Like, that's just not how it's going to be. Six says not right now. Does a Valhalla run better and Dirt 5 on the PS5? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Dirt 5 runs better on the PS5. I just saw the Call of Duty the Call of Duty review, the technical analysis from Digital Foundry. They were saying that basically it's neck and neck. Like there are some areas of the game where it runs better on Series X, and some where it runs better on PS5, which basically means that it's a wash, right? Not even saying that PS5 performs better, even if there are some games where things run better on the PS5. At the end of the day, those differences are only going to be ones you see running side by side. If you're at home with a Series X, you're playing Valhalla, it's not going to be a trash experience, right? You're not going to play Valhalla and be like, it's unplayable on Series X. But at the end of the day, if the power is the reason why you bought a Series X and you're playing the same games on the Series X that are available on the PS5, you have limited yourself. to whatever Microsoft is going to offer you. Which as of right now, there's like I said, you got the medium coming out. We'll see how that goes. But as far as these studio acquisitions, you're looking at 2 years plus to get a game, and you have no idea what that game is going to look like. Like there's no as of right now, there are very few studios that you can say I know this is going to be a hit. I guarantee this is going to be a banger. This studio, whatever they make, is going to be a console mover. There are very few studios that you can say that about. Rockstar, which unless you got a whole lot of money, Rockstar ain't making nobody no console exclusives just because they can make too much money by spreading it across. Maybe you have like a launch exclusive, like a launch window where it launches on one console earlier than the next. But you think Rockstar is going to put out GTA 6 on one console? Nah, no way. Um, CD Projekt Red, you know, I foresee them doing a Witcher 3 remaster in the future as well, which is probably going to be amazing. But right now they've got Cyberpunk 2077, which as of right now may launch in 2020. Like we're on our like fourth release date for that game or something like that. But I mean the hype is through the roof for that game. Like I'm terrified. I'm terrified for that game, man. I want it to be great, but I don't at this point I don't know if it can live up to the hype. And also from some stuff I'm seeing, um, I don't know if it's going to be the game that they've been portraying. To be honest, like the game they've been showing us has been a very action oriented game, but from what I've been hearing, it's going to be a lot less action and a lot more just kind of like storytelling and decision making. It's going to be more of an RPG than action, which might not be bad, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be what people are expecting, right? So I'm kind of worried about how that game's going to land. Let's see. 4K native on the Series X, PS5, dynamic 4K. Yeah, and at this point, to be honest, you can't tell. Like as of right now, resolution is not important. Like I'm sorry. Like it's not as important and the reason why I say that is because us as consumers, we are being advertised to, right? All these terms that they're using, dynamic 4K and AI upscaling and all of this stuff. They're highlighting that stuff because they want us to feel like it's something that you need to have. It's something that needs to differentiate. Um, but nobody's looked at a game that's got dynamic 4K and be like, this game is trash, but this game looks terrible. To be honest, some of the most beautiful games of last gen were on PS4. Nobody's going to tell me Spider-Man doesn't look amazing, and that game don't run at 4K. Ghost of Tsushima, amazing, does not run at 4K. God of War, amazing, does not run at 4K. You see what I'm saying? So whether it's dynamic or whether it's upscaled, resolution, I think after the dust has settled for this generation, resolution is just not as important as it's been made out to be. Because now everybody has a 4K TV, so that's not even something to advertise anymore. Now I think it's more about frame rate and really more about the actual way the developers are, presenting these games. I think that's what makes the biggest difference. Let's see. Yeah. So Big Mig says it's sneaky what PS5 did for it to have ray tracing. Yeah, they implemented it in a weird way. Big Mig says I have both X gens. The difference is very minimal. Yeah, and that's what I've been hearing. And like I say, like regardless, like when you, especially for me, when I'm watching something like Digital Foundry, they're literally counting pixels, not figuratively. They are playing a game. They are hitting pause, and they are counting the individual pixels and adding them up to figure out exactly how many pixels this game is showing you at any given time. That's extreme, right? But when you're playing a game, most people aren't gonna have that eye for that type of detail. Like most people, it's gonna be more about the gameplay experience. That's why I say for me, I think that if you have a game that implements the abilities of the DualSense, that's going to be significantly more um, impactful to the experience than whether it runs at native 4K or dynamic 4K. That's not like you're not going to choose a game based off of that to me, right? So I feel like the upside for the PS5 at this point is a lot higher for the type of experience it can give you than the Xbox. Mig says GTA 5 is now in three generations of systems. Yeah, man, they are making so much money out of GTA 5. It's crazy, man. It says as long as I get 60 frames, I'm good. Can't stand 30. Yeah, I can't go back to 30. I gotta have 60. I don't care what visual, because at this point all the games look good. So no matter what visual promises you have, if you drop it below 60, I can't mess with it. That's just me, for real. But yeah, man. But so hitting the 50-minute mark, uh my throat's getting a little sore. Feel good to be back. Been having a lot of you know, getting a lot of questions, especially since the next gen is launched. But I'm definitely fun to be back talking to you guys. If y'all got any questions, man, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on YouTube here. I'll definitely try to answer your questions. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Till next time, I'll talk to you guys. Peace.